You do not become what you want. You become what you assume. There is a sacred power in your assumption, one that goes far beyond daydreaming or wishful thinking. If you want to enter your millionaire phase, you must stop hoping for it and begin to live it now, not tomorrow, not after some perfect condition has been met. Now, this very moment is the moment of creation. And the secret is not in action, nor is it in effort. The secret is in the act of being. You must be the thing you seek. Not later, now. Imagine this. The old you is nothing but a shadow, a version who used to beg life for breakthroughs, for money, for success. That version stood at the door and knocked, asking, but what if I told you the door was never locked? What if I told you it was never even closed? All you had to do was walk in, not with desperation, not with effort, but with the calm confidence of one who belongs there. You see, those who are rich, truly rich, do not chase. They carry an identity, a knowing that wealth belongs to them, not as a reward, but as a reflection. Your world will not change until you change. You keep looking for signs in the world, waiting for external evidence as if the universe needs to convince you. But that is not how it works. It is not seeing that brings believing, it is believing that brings seeing. Every dollar, every opportunity, every open door is first imagined in the temple of your mind, and until you dwell in that temple as one who has, you will remain outside as one who waits. So how does a millionaire wake up in the morning? Not with anxiety. Not with the question, will I make it? No. They rise with the knowledge that life bends to their belief. They feel the soft linens. They breathe in freedom. They move through the day with a calm certainty. Their posture is not frantic. It is peaceful. Their smile is not forced. It is rooted in assurance. Their speech is not filled with scarcity. It is rich in gratitude. That is how you must live now. Walk as if your bank account already reflects abundance. Speak as though your words hold weight in rooms of influence. Think not as one in lack, but as one who stewards wealth with wisdom. You do not need to beg for this reality. You only need to enter it by assumption. The feeling of wealth must not visit you. It must become your home. And once it becomes natural to you, once it is no longer something you are trying to achieve, but something you simply are, the outer world will echo it. The world is nothing more than your reflected belief. You have been taught to hustle, to grind, to suffer for success. But there is a deeper truth. True wealth begins in stillness. It arises not from action, but from identity. It flows not because you chase it, but because you expect it. And that expectation is not passive, it is creative. It shapes the world around you, molds it to fit the shape of your inner vision. Think back to the times you longed for change but acted from fear. What did it bring you? More fear, more waiting, more delay. But now you are being asked to do something different. Not try harder, but be different. To stop identifying with the one who lacks and start living as the one who has. And the moment you make that shift, life will not hesitate to meet you there. Look around you right now. This very room is the womb of creation. It is the sacred place where identity is chosen, and once chosen, it creates. Not someday, but now. The world is already rearranging itself to fit the frequency you inhabit. So step into the frequency of wealth. Act not from the desperation of desire, but from the assurance of fulfillment. What you claim internally will become external fact. What you live inwardly will show itself in the mirror of life. So close your eyes just for a moment. Feel it. Not imagine it vaguely, but feel it deeply. The luxury, the ease, the gratitude, the empowerment, the calm that money can't buy, yet follows when your being is aligned. And as you walk back into the world, walk differently. Not because something changed outside, but because everything has changed inside. This is not pretense. It is not delusion. It is the truth hidden in plain sight that you create by being. So act as if you are already there, because the moment you do, you are. You do not get what you want, you get what you are, and there is a vast difference between the two. Wanting is a declaration of absence, of distance, of lack. It speaks from a place of not having and reinforces the separation between you and your desire. But being is the sacred bridge between imagination and manifestation. If you wish to enter your millionaire phase, you must drop the identity of the one who is striving to get there and assume the identity of the one who already lives there. Most people try to force change from the outside in. They work harder, push more, hustle longer, hoping that if they perform enough, the world will reward them with the evidence they crave. But that is not creation, that is delay. That is the slow road paved with struggle and resistance. The truth is far more liberating. Your reality changes the moment you change, not when your job title changes, not when your bank balance grows, but the moment you shift the state from which. When you assume the identity of a millionaire, you are not pretending. You are not playing a game of make-believe. You are entering the truth of your being. You are accepting a new state of consciousness as your dwelling place. You are aligning yourself with the version of you who no longer waits, no longer begs, no longer doubts. And that alignment does not require effort. It requires belief. Can you, even for a moment, drop the identity of someone who is trying to succeed? Can you let go of the striving, the struggle, the constant rehearsing of why it's not here yet? Because all of that belongs to a state of lack, not abundance. And what you occupy inwardly, you project outwardly. You don't manifest from effort, you manifest from identity, from your inner stance, from who you are being when no one is watching. If you want to change your life, you must first change your conception of yourself. Not by hoping or wishing, but by assuming. If you were already wealthy, deeply, unapologetically wealthy, how would you carry yourself? How would you speak? How would you walk into a room? What thoughts would you allow to live in your mind? What worries would no longer grip you? That version of you exists now, not in the distant future, but right now, in imagination. And the moment you accept that identity as your truth, your reality begins to reconfigure itself to match it. You do not need permission to change who you are. You do not need evidence to believe in a new version of yourself. The only requirement is willingness. The willingness to release the old identity, no matter how familiar it feels. Because the old you may be comfortable, but it is not your truth. It is merely a reflection of past assumptions, now outdated, no longer serving your highest calling. The true self is always creating. It creates not through force, but through assumption. Whatever you believe yourself to be, you are, and the world bends itself to accommodate that belief. So if you keep identifying as someone who is on the journey to success, that journey will continue indefinitely. But if you dare to assume the identity of one who has arrived, then the outer world has no choice but to bring you the experiences, people, and opportunities that confirm that identity. You have to stop relating to life as if it owes you something. You owe yourself the decision to become who you desire to be. No one can walk into your future for you. No one can hold your place in the reality you want to live. That is your responsibility and your privilege. The millionaire version of you does not need to be created. It needs to be claimed. It is not out there, waiting for you to chase it. It is within you, waiting for you to assume it. Think of yourself as an actor, but the kind who fully immerses into the role until they are the character. They don't wait for the script to tell them who to be. They become the identity, and in doing so, every action, every word, every decision flows from that identity naturally. In the same way, when you become the millionaire in your mind, your life begins to take shape accordingly. Not because you're trying harder, but because you're operating from a new center. You may ask, but what if my current world looks nothing like that? It doesn't matter. That is merely the reflection of a past state. Don't look to it for confirmation. Look within. Creation begins there. The world is a mirror, and it cannot reflect anything back to you that you have not already accepted as true of yourself. So hold the image, live in the awareness, walk in the energy of it. Even if nothing outside changes right away, persist inwardly, because it is not the world that must change first, it is you. Do not say, I am becoming a millionaire. That implies distance. Say, I am, and say it not just with words, but with being, with posture, with presence, with stillness. That is not arrogance, that is power. That is alignment with your truest self. You are not pretending when you do this. You are correcting the lie that says you are anything less than abundant, powerful, and worthy. Every time you return to old patterns of thinking, thoughts of unworthiness, fears, struggle, you are stepping back into an outdated self. You are handing your power to an illusion. But when you remember who you truly are and live from that remembrance, you become unstoppable. Not because you gained anything externally, but because you return to the truth internally. And so, the journey is not about acquiring wealth. It is about recognizing that wealth is already within you. That the version of you who has it all is not a future fantasy. It is a present reality waiting to be chosen. The identity you wear is the reality you live. If you wear the identity of lack, you will live in lack. If you wear the identity of wealth, wealth will make its way to you, not as a reward, but as a natural consequence of who you have become. So begin today, not by waiting, not by hoping, but by being. Walk into your day as though you are already in your millionaire phase. Let your energy reflect it. Let your thoughts honor it. Let your heart trust it. Because the world around you is nothing more than a stage, and it will play the scene you have rehearsed most deeply in your mind. Choose your role wisely and play it without hesitation. There is a sacred truth that few grasp and even fewer dare to live by. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is the one and only bridge between your desire and its manifestation. Not the effort, not the planning, not even the action. It is feeling, deep, quiet, steady feeling that creates. It is the experience of being, not the hope of becoming, that shapes the outer world. To enter your millionaire phase, you must go beyond visualizing it as some faraway dream. You must feel its reality, now. Most people imagine what they want, but they do so with a subtle poison in their minds. They see it and yet also feel that it is not here. They dream about it, but that dream carries the sting of lack. And that is why it does not manifest. Because they are not living in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. They are living in the wish itself, constantly reinforcing the distance between themselves and the life they desire. But feeling is the secret. What would it feel like right now if it were already true? Not what would it look like, not what would people say, but what would it feel like to you? That inner emotional climate is the state of creation. That vibration becomes your home, and the longer you dwell in it, the faster the outer world must take form to reflect it. The world cannot resist the power of a man or woman who lives in the state of their answered prayer. This is not a matter of pretending. It is not imagination as escape. It is imagination as dominion. You are not running from what is. You are creating what will be. And it begins not with action, but with feeling. Because the outer is always the servant of the inner. And once you occupy a state emotionally, that state begins to clothe itself in events, in encounters, in resources, and in wealth. But the great challenge for many is this: how can I feel something that I cannot yet see? And that question itself reveals the misunderstanding. You do not wait to feel, you feel first. The feeling is the cause, the seeing is the effect. And once you truly grasp this, life opens before you like a garden unfolding to the sun. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, you become the cause of it. Close your eyes and go there. Feel the lightness of financial freedom, the calm knowing that bills are no longer stressors, that choices are no longer made from fear. Imagine walking into a store and never checking the price tag. Imagine receiving an opportunity and saying yes, not because you need it to survive, but because it aligns with your purpose. Imagine supporting others without hesitation, giving from overflow, living from abundance. Now take that feeling, not the image, but the feeling, and wear it like a second skin. Walk with it. Eat with it, sleep with it. Carry it with you when you're alone. Let it rise up when doubts try to creep in. That feeling is your ticket. That feeling is your access. It is the secret key that unlocks doors you didn't even know existed. And the more natural it becomes to you, the more quickly your world will mirror it. But beware of the trap of efforting, the trap of trying to force the feeling. The moment you try to force, you admit that it is not real to you. And that state of force creates resistance. This isn't about straining to feel something. It is about surrendering into it. It is about resting in it. Like a child who imagines a game so vividly that they laugh and jump with joy, not because the game is real, but because they are in it fully. That is the level of surrender you must live in. And it is available to you now. You do not need permission. You do not need evidence. You do not need progress in the outer world. You only need to feel it within and remain there. That place of deep inner knowing, where you are no longer asking, no longer needing, no longer doubting. You are simply being. That is the state of the wish fulfilled. Your job is not to make the vision happen. Your job is to live in the state of its fulfillment. The rest is not your concern. You are the vessel, you are the channel, you are the consciousness through which this manifestation enters the world. And it enters through feeling, not through calculation, not through struggle, but through the silent, sacred act of feeling the thing already done. You must become so intimate with that feeling that it becomes your default setting. You must return to it every morning before the day distracts you. You must return to it at night before you sleep, so that your subconscious accepts it as truth. You must fall in love with that feeling, as if it were already your life partner, already your atmosphere, already your truth. And yes, the world may still look the same at first, but do not be deceived. The world you see is but the echo of a previous state. It is not your master. It is not your reality. It is your reflection. So let it pass. Let it catch up. Let it rearrange itself while you remain unmoved, undisturbed, anchored in the joy of the wish fulfilled. To feel wealthy is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is not fantasy. It is faith. And that faith, when felt deeply, when held consistently, becomes flesh. You do not need to explain it to others. You do not need to justify your peace. You only need to protect that feeling, like a candle in the wind, and let it burn steadily within you. Because there will come a day, soon, when the world will bow to that feeling and say, here it is. But it will not surprise you. Because in truth, you had already received it. You had lived it. You had loved it. Long before anyone else could see it. So when you ask, what must I do to become a millionaire? The answer is simple. Feel like one. Not just once, not just in meditation, but as a way of life. Let that be your new natural. Let that be your new normal. And watch how life responds. Not because you chased it, but because you became it. The great illusion that keeps humanity bound is the belief that the outer world shapes the inner world, that circumstances dictate emotion, that events control mindset, that results determine self-worth. But once you awaken, once you begin to see with the eye of truth, you realize this: nothing in your outer world is happening to you, it is all happening through you. Your outer reality is not a separate force acting upon you, it is your mirror, a faithful servant of your inner state. It obeys, without question, the vibration you carry. You cannot escape the law that governs this universe. What is within must be reflected without. What is sown in the subconscious must bloom in the world of form. There is no exception to this. You may not see it instantly, for there is a time delay between seed and harvest, but the delay does not mean denial. It simply means you are watching the evidence of yesterday's thoughts, yesterday's assumptions, yesterday's feelings. So if your present world displeases you, do not fight it. Change what you are broadcasting inwardly. You may walk through a place of lack right now, but you must not carry lack within you. You may be surrounded by struggle, but struggle must not reside in your mind. For the moment you accept lack as your truth, the outer world will honor your command and multiply it. But if you instead carry the wealth of a new consciousness, a quiet, confident knowing that all you desire is already yours, then the world must shift to mirror that knowing. Everything begins with consciousness. Your thoughts are seeds. Your feelings are the water. Your assumptions are the sunlight. The field is always responding, and it never forgets what you plant in it. It is not a matter of whether or not things will grow. It is a matter of what you have chosen to grow. You cannot entertain thoughts of poverty and expect wealth. You cannot embody fear and expect freedom. The law is precise. It gives to you exactly what you believe to be true of yourself. So ask yourself now, not with judgment, but with honesty, what world are you creating from the inside? What do you believe to be possible for you? Do you speak words of abundance while feeling doubt? Do you pretend to believe while harboring fear in the quiet corners of your mind? Because the universe is not fooled by surface words. It responds to your dominant state, the persistent, unseen self that you return to again and again, even when no one is watching. You may decorate your vision board, you may repeat affirmations, but if your inner conversations are filled with anxiety, if your reactions are saturated in insecurity, then you are sending mixed messages to the creative power within. And the world will reflect that mixture back to you. Confused opportunities, half-open doors, fleeting results. It is not punishment, it is feedback. It is an invitation to return to your center, to clean the lens of your mind, and to align with the truth of who you really are. You must understand, wealth is not a number, it is not a bank balance, it is not a possession, it is a state. And when you live in that state inwardly, regardless of what your five senses show you, then and only then does the outer world begin to respond. The physical world is slow to move because it is solid, but the spiritual world, the world of imagination and feeling, moves instantly. And what is real in that inner world, when held with conviction, must take form in the outer. There is no need to strain or strive. Simply dwell in the state you wish to express. Let it soak into your thoughts, your speech, your posture. Let it govern the choices you make and the expectations you carry. For expectation is not mere optimism. It is the mold into which life pours its experience. And your expectation is born not from effort, but from the state you have claimed as yours. You cannot create beyond the boundaries of your identity. If you see yourself as small, you will experience a small life. If you see yourself as forgotten, you will be overlooked. But the moment you shift, truly shift, and begin to see yourself as chosen, favored, supported, abundant, then everything must begin to organize itself around that belief. That is not arrogance, that is creation. That is law. It is not about lying to yourself. It is about awakening to the truth. The truth that your current world is not a verdict, it is a reflection. And reflections change the moment you change what stands before the mirror. You are not a prison of your past. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the architect of the unseen, and what you build inwardly will appear in time. So begin to guard your inner state with sacred seriousness. Let no thought enter that does not serve your higher vision. Let no emotion linger that contradicts your future. When worry knocks, do not entertain it. Return to the state of peace. When fear whispers, do not listen. Return to the state of trust. When doubt tries to plant its seeds, do not water them. Return to the state of knowing. This is your work. This is your power. And it is the most important work you will ever do. You may feel tempted to look outside and judge your progress. Don't. The outer is a slow echo. Look instead at your inner climate. Ask yourself not what's happening around you, but what's happening within you. Are you still reacting from the old identity, or have you truly moved into the new one? Because once the inner shift is complete, the outer world has no choice. It must yield, it must bow, it must reorganize. And you will find, almost miraculously, that opportunities begin to appear where there were none. People begin to speak your name in rooms you've never entered. Resources arrive without explanation. Paths open that logic cannot account for. But this is not a miracle. This is the normal function of law. You assumed the state, and the state became reality. That is the order. That is the design. So now you must decide, will you keep reacting to appearances, or will you rise above them and create from truth? Will you remain a victim of what you see, or will you become a master of what you feel? Because the moment you choose your state deliberately and remain faithful to it, the world will bend. Not because you forced it, but because you remembered who you are. There is a subtle but powerful difference between desiring something and already being the one who has it. And in this difference lies the chasm between delay and manifestation. As long as you act from lack, you are reinforcing the belief that you are incomplete. Every prayer that begins with, I need, every thought that says, I hope it comes soon, every emotion tinged with desperation is a confession of separation. It is an admission that what you seek is not yet yours, and the law of consciousness responds not to your words, not to your wishes, but to your state. And if your state is rooted in lack, then lack will continue to appear in your world like a faithful servant. To act from lack is to walk into a room hoping someone notices you. To act from completion is to walk in knowing you belong. One carries the weight of needing approval, the other carries the peace of inner wholeness. This applies to everything: wealth, love, purpose, freedom. You do not beg life for what you want, you claim it by entering the state of already having it. Not later, not after proof, but now, through assumption. You must understand, the moment you need something, you place yourself in opposition to it. The very act of needing is an admission that you are separate from what you want. And this is why so many people struggle. They ask, they plead, they chase, but all from the energetic posture of, I don't have it. And so, the universe echoes back that very lack. They say, why is it not coming? But the answer is in the question itself. They are still speaking as someone who believes they are without. But completion is a different state. Completion doesn't grasp, completion doesn't beg, completion doesn't chase. It rests, it knows, it accepts. And in that acceptance is the secret key to all manifestation. Imagine for a moment that you already have the wealth you desire, not as a fantasy, not as a hope, but as a living reality. How would you speak? How would you think? How would you carry yourself through the day? That feeling, that vibration, is the soil of creation. You do not wait for the outer world to confirm your inner wealth. You act from it now, not to trick the universe, but because that is the only way the universe can respond. It does not hear your words. It hears your state. And your state is loud. Your state is constant. Your state is what attracts or repels, expands or contracts, brings near or pushes away. To act from completion is to stop checking, stop measuring, stop looking at your bank balance to determine your belief. Stop watching for signs. When you truly know that what you want is already yours in consciousness, you no longer need constant reassurance from the world. You become still, you become stable, you become magnetic, and what you assumed within begins to crystallize without, because there is no longer resistance between who you are and what you claim. The energy of lack is frantic. It is impatient. It is rooted in fear. It speaks often, but it listens poorly. It rushes, it worries, it doubts. But the energy of completion is calm. It trusts. It does not ask whether or not it is worthy. It knows it is. It does not react to appearances. It holds its ground. It doesn't look outside for validation because it has already received the only validation that matters, from within. This is why so many never receive what they desire. They stay in the identity of someone trying to get there. But trying is not the language of the fulfilled. Trying keeps you on the edge of the promised land without ever crossing in. Completion does not try, it is. It moves not out of need, but out of expression. It doesn't seek to earn, it seeks to reveal what is already true. Even your actions must shift. Are you moving through life trying to make something happen? Or are you acting as the natural expression of someone who already has what they want? A person acting from lack uses effort as a weapon to battle unworthiness. But a person acting from completion lets their steps be guided by inner knowing. They don't force, they allow. They don't chase, they attract. And there's no need to fake this. You are not being asked to pretend, you are being asked to believe, to accept as true the reality you have imagined. Even before the outer world echoes it back, faith is not blind. Faith is vision, inner vision. It sees beyond what the eyes can see. It walks in completion before completion becomes visible. And this is the life of the creative soul, to feel it real before it becomes fact. So take inventory. Are your thoughts aligned with completion, or are they saturated with lack? Do your emotions lift you into peace or pull you into desperation? Does your inner dialogue speak as one who has or as one who still waits? Because the answer to these questions will reveal your state. And once you are aware of your state, you can change it. Not by force, but by gentle redirection. Whenever lack whispers, replace it with truth. When the voice of fear says it's not working, you reply with inner stillness, it already has. When doubt says you're not ready, you say within, I already am. You do not argue with the shadows, you simply turn on the light of awareness. You return to the feeling of completion again and again until it becomes your new natural, your new identity, your new frequency. And once you begin to act from this state, your world will change, because it must. The law is certain. The world reflects your inner reality, and the moment your inner reality is rooted in completion, the outer world will bring completion to you. Not because you forced it, but because you remembered. What you seek is not outside of you. It never was. It lives within you now. And your only task is to live from that truth as if nothing else were more real, because nothing else is. The assumption, once made, is the seed of reality. But like all seeds, it must be nurtured, not plucked up each day to see if it has sprouted, not doubted in the silence. It must be persisted in, For what you assume and continue to assume, no matter what the outer world shows you, will eventually harden into fact. This is not poetry. It is law. And it does not fail. Only man fails to remain faithful. Persistence is not merely repetition. It is the refusal to return to the old state of being. It is the quiet, disciplined practice of living inwardly, as though what you desire is already yours. The world may mock you, circumstances may appear unmoved, but the one who truly understands creation does not flinch, because they know that what they see around them is the echo of past assumptions. And if they do not give up the new assumption, the echo must eventually change. The outer world has no choice but to obey the inner. But most people do not persist. They plant the seed of assumption, and then they look at the soil and say, "Where is it?" They wait a day, perhaps two. If the evidence does not appear, they begin to doubt. They begin to speak words that contradict their desire. They react to circumstances instead of remaining rooted in the state of their wish fulfilled. And so, the new assumption is not given the time it needs to grow into fact. It is abandoned too early, replaced with fear, and the cycle of waiting continues. Persistence means you hold the new state even when nothing outside encourages you to do so, especially then. You wake up each morning and return to the feeling. You walk through the day and act as one who already has. You lay your head at night and fall asleep in that state. Not because the world has confirmed it, but because you no longer need the world's permission to believe. The assumption must become your home, not your hotel, not your weekend visit. It must be where you live. The mind that persists in a state carves a new path in the subconscious, and once that new path is formed, it becomes automatic, natural, effortless. It becomes who you are. And the world cannot help but reflect what you have become. Do not confuse faith with passivity. This is not about sitting idle and waiting. This is about holding firm inwardly while walking confidently outwardly. It is about doing from the state of already having, not trying to do in order to get. There is no struggle in true persistence. There is no forcing. There is only quiet conviction. A still, unshakable knowing that what is real within will soon be real without. You may face moments of contradiction, moments when things appear worse, not better. These are not failures. They are tests of alignment. Do you truly believe, or do you only believe when it's easy? Will you persist in the assumption even when everything outside you screams otherwise? Because the moment you stop needing proof, proof begins to appear. The moment you stop asking when, the arrival begins. The moment you stop trying to make it happen, it has happened. In consciousness. And reality must follow. Think of a sculptor. They do not abandon the stone because the image does not appear instantly. They chip away, patiently, faithfully, knowing the form is within. So it is with your assumption. Every time you return to the state of the wish fulfilled, you are sculpting your reality. Every time you refuse to react to outer appearances, you are strengthening your creation. And though you may not see the masterpiece at first, it is forming quietly, faithfully, surely. You must live as though you cannot fail, as though the outcome is inevitable. Because once you assume something is true and you remain in that assumption, failure becomes impossible. The world may delay, but it cannot deny. That which is deeply felt and consistently assumed must come forth. For the world is only ever responding to you, your state, not your effort. This persistence must be joyful, not burdensome. It is not a task, it is a privilege. It is the act of claiming your divine right to create. It is the daily communion with a version of yourself who already lives the life you desire. And this communion is sacred. It is the place where your true power resides, not in noise, but in silence, not in force, but in faith. When the world appears unchanged, you do not change your mind, you deepen your belief. When doubt tries to creep in, you do not argue, you return to the feeling. You speak inwardly, it is done. You walk on as though nothing could be more certain. And in time, the world catches up. Some people will say, it's not working. But that statement only reveals that they never truly assumed. Because when you assume something fully, you do not check. You do not question. You rest. You know. Just as a woman who is pregnant does not ask each morning if she is still carrying life, she knows. She feels. She prepares. She persists in that identity until the day comes when the invisible becomes visible. So too must you carry your assumption until it gives birth to form. You are not asking the world for permission. You are instructing it. And you instruct the world not with words, but with states. Every time you dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled, you are issuing a command, and the world obeys. Not immediately, perhaps, but inevitably. Hold your vision. Refuse to be swayed by appearances. Let others doubt if they must, but you will believe. You will walk in the assumption. You will breathe it, speak it, think it, be it. And in time, that which was once invisible will stand before you in undeniable form, not as a miracle, but as a result. Not as a surprise, but as the rightful fruit of your inner persistence. Because this is the law. Assume and persist, and it will be. Let the world say what it will. Let the moment feel quiet. But you remain steadfast. You remain faithful to your unseen truth. And in that faith, mountains move, doors open, wealth arrives, not because you begged for it, but because you knew it was already yours, and you refused to forget.
There exists a force, an unseen law that governs the destiny of men. It moves in silence, shaping the future, creating kings from beggars and beggars from kings. It is not luck, nor is it mere chance, but a power so absolute, so precise, that those who understand it rise effortlessly, while those who ignore it remain bound to a life of struggle. Look around you. The world whispers its secrets, but few are willing to listen. Some walk the earth with an air of certainty, untouched by the storms that shake lesser men. Money flows to them like a river drawn to the sea, while others toil endlessly, scraping for mere survival. Why? Is it fate? A cruel trick of destiny? Or is there something far greater at play? You have been told that wealth belongs to the privileged, that it is a result of inheritance, status, or mere fortune. But what if I told you that riches are not determined by birth, nor by external circumstances, but by something far more powerful, the mind? So, wealth is never about money, it never has been. It is about perception, it is about conviction. The truly rich do not chase money, they become money. They do not fear loss, nor do they obsess over gain. Their thoughts move in alignment with abundance, and so abundance moves toward them. The poor man sees lack in every direction. He believes that resources are scarce, that opportunities are fleeting, that success is reserved for others. And so his very belief shapes his world, binding him to the conditions he so deeply dreads. But the rich man, he is different. He sees the world as an ocean of possibility, where money is not to be earned with sweat and toil alone, but commanded through the force of thought itself. You may not believe it yet, but money follows thought. It gravitates toward those who understand its nature. It flees from those who fear it, from those who resent it, from those who believe they are unworthy of it. This is why the same hands that win fortune so easily can lose them just as quickly, because the outer world is nothing but a reflection of the inner. The mind of a man dictates the wealth of a man, and if the mind is poor, no amount of effort will break the chains that hold him in place. Have you ever listened to how the poor speak? I can't afford it. I wish I could. If only I had more money. Their words are filled with powerlessness. They reinforce the prison they have built with their own beliefs. And now compare this to the language of the rich. How can I afford it? What's the next opportunity? Money flows to me in expected and unexpected ways. These are not empty phrases. They are declarations. They are affirmations of control. They are the manifestation of a mindset that refuses to acknowledge limitation. This is the great divide, the invisible chasm that separates the wealthy from those who remain bound to scarcity. Not a wall built by society, but by perception. The wealthy know a secret that most ignore. Money is an idea, and it obeys the mind that masters it. The frequency of prosperity is real, and only those who attune themselves to it can receive its blessings. And so I ask you, what is your belief about wealth? Do you see yourself as someone who is struggling to earn money, or as someone who attracts it effortlessly? Do you see financial success as something distant, difficult, out of reach? Or do you claim it now as your birthright? Because until you see yourself as wealthy, until you feel it in your very bones, no strategy, no scheme, no amount of work will break the chains that hold you back. The rich think differently. They know that success is not earned in sweat alone, but in the silent corridors of the mind. They do not operate from fear, but from faith. They do not see obstacles, but opportunities. They do not seek permission. They create their own path. And because of this, the universe yields to them what it denies to others. And now, I ask you, are you ready to break free? Are you ready to let go of the beliefs that have kept you bound? Because if you are, then understand this: it is not money that you must chase. It is alignment that you must seek. When your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions move in harmony with abundance, wealth will come to you as surely as the morning sun rises. And so, let me show you what sets the wealthy apart. These are the 7 key shifts that separate those who struggle from those who thrive. If you can master these, you will unlock the true power of wealth, not just in money, but in life itself. Money is not just paper, nor is it simply a tool of exchange. It is energy flowing in accordance with the mind that directs it. The untrained mind sees money as a possession, something to be grasped, hoarded, and protected. But those who understand its true nature know that money is not something you own, it is something you command. It is not static, nor is it bound by rigid rules. It moves in response to thought, aligning itself with those who respect its power and repelling those who misunderstand it. Consider the man who believes money is scarce. His entire life is shaped by this belief. He hesitates before every purchase, measuring each coin, fearing that what leaves his hands may never return. He tells himself that money is difficult to come by, that it must be saved, guarded, and kept close. And so, what happens? The very nature of his thoughts pushes wealth away from him. His energy signals lack, and the universe, unerring in its precision, ensures that lack is all he experiences. Now look at the man who understands. He does not see money as something he needs, nor as something that is slipping away. To him, money is movement. It flows, it grows, it multiplies. He does not hold it with clenched fists, but with open hands, allowing it to circulate freely, knowing that it will return. He does not fear spending, for he knows that money is never truly gone. It is an extension of thought, and the moment he aligns his mind with wealth, it will find him in ways he never expected. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract money effortlessly, while others struggle for every cent? It is not mere effort, nor is it luck. It is alignment. The one who views money as a burden will always find himself burdened by it. The one who sees money as a tool of expansion will always find himself expanding. The outer world is nothing more than a reflection of the inner. And if within you believe that money is difficult to obtain, that it is something to chase rather than command, then you will always remain in pursuit, never realizing that the only thing standing in your way is your perception. Pause for a moment and reflect. How do you feel when you think about wealth? Does it excite you, or does it make you uneasy? Do you believe it is something you deserve, or do you feel guilt at the thought of possessing great riches? Because your answer to these questions is not trivial, it is the very key to your financial destiny. If deep within you harbor subconscious resistance to wealth, no amount of work, no financial strategy, no effort will bring it to you. The mind must first be changed before the circumstances follow. The rich do not chase money, they do not beg for it, nor do they struggle under the weight of desperation. They expect it, not with arrogance, but with certainty. They move through life with the quiet confidence that wealth is already theirs, even before it physically arrives. And because they believe it, because they see it as inevitable, the universe has no choice but to reflect that belief. This is not superstition. This is law. The same law that governs the rising of the turning of the tides, the growth of the seed beneath the soil. The mind, like fertile ground, produces what is planted within it. And if the seed is one of lack of worry, of financial anxiety, then the harvest will reflect only those things. Observe those who have mastered wealth. They do not react emotionally to money's presence or absence. They do not flinch when they see a large bill, nor do they panic at temporary setbacks. They remain composed, detached, knowing that money is merely an effect, not a cause. They do not serve money, money serves them. It moves in accordance with their inner state, and because they remain unshaken, their wealth remains unshaken as well. Contrast this with the man who fears money, who sees it as something beyond his control. When he gains it, he clings to it tightly, suffocating it with his desperation. When he loses it, he mourns as if a part of himself has been taken away. His emotions, tied so closely to his financial condition, ensure that he is forever bound to a cycle of highs and lows, never achieving true stability. Because he believes that money is external, separate from himself, he fails to see that its source was never outside, it was always within. The shift is subtle, yet its effects are profound. To step into wealth, one must first stop chasing it. One must let go of the belief that money is something to be earned through relentless struggle. Instead, it must be seen for what it truly is, a vibration and energy, an extension of thought. The moment you shift your perspective from needing money to commanding it, you will notice something extraordinary. Opportunities arise where none existed before. The right people enter your life at the right time. Unexpected sources of income appear without warning. It is not magic, nor is it coincidence. It is simply the result of a mind that has finally aligned itself with abundance. And so I ask you, how do you see money? Do you fear it, or do you embrace it? Do you believe it is something outside of you, or do you recognize that it has always been within your reach? Because until you master this truth, until you fully accept that wealth begins in the mind, no external change will ever be enough. You must first think as the rich think. You must first see yourself as wealthy even before the evidence appears. And once you do, once you embody that truth with every fiber of your being, the world will mirror it back to you in ways you never imagined. There is a peculiar blindness that afflicts the masses. They walk through life seeing only obstacles, only barriers, only reasons why they cannot move forward. Their world is filled with roadblocks, their minds consumed with limitation. They speak of hardships, of closed doors, of unfair circumstances. Their focus is always on what is missing, what is broken, what is standing in their way. And so what happens? The more they see obstacles, the more obstacles appear. The more they speak of struggle, the more struggle becomes their reality. The wealthy, however, do not see the world this way. Where others see roadblocks, they see opportunities. Where others complain of limitations, they search for possibilities. It is not that they are blind to difficulty, nor that they are ignorant of hardship. It is that they refuse to allow such things to define them. They do not dwell on what is lacking. They focus on what can be done. They do not waste time lamenting closed doors. They look for the open ones, or if none are found, they build a new door altogether. Consider the difference in perception. One man faced with a financial setback reacts with despair. He speaks of his losses, his misfortune. He fixates on what went wrong, on the forces working against him. And so, his mind is locked in a cycle of defeat. His thoughts remain trapped in the problem, never venturing toward a solution. Another man faced with the same setback sees it differently. He does not waste time mourning what has already passed. Instead, his first thought is, what now? What can be done? What is the next move? His mind does not linger in frustration, it moves immediately toward progress. And so the difference between the rich and the poor is not always in circumstances, nor in opportunity. It is in response. It is in perception. Two men can stand before the same storm, yet one sees devastation while the other sees a chance to rebuild stronger than before. Two men can face rejection, yet one takes it as a sign to quit, while the other sees it as fuel to try again, to adjust, to refine his approach until success is inevitable. You must understand this. The world mirrors your focus. If you fixate on difficulty, difficulty will dominate your experience. If you dwell on the reasons why something cannot be done, your mind will ensure that you remain bound by those reasons. But if you train yourself to see opportunity, if you discipline your mind to search for solutions rather than excuses, your reality will shift in response. Doors will appear where none seemed to exist before. Pathways will unfold where only walls once stood. It is not luck nor coincidence. It is the law of thought in action. Look closely at those who have risen from nothing to immense wealth. They have encountered setbacks. They have faced rejection, failure, loss. But what separates them from the rest is their ability to interpret these events in a way that serves them. They do not allow failure to define them. They do not see rejection as the end of the road. They refuse to dwell in the past, in what could have been and what did not go their way. Their minds are always moving forward, always searching for the next step, always focused on what can be done rather than what cannot. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to turn every hardship into success while others crumble under the slightest difficulty? It is not circumstance. It is vision. It is a way of thinking, a mental discipline that refuses to be defeated. Those who master this principle understand that every challenge contains within it the seed of an even greater breakthrough. They train themselves to search for that seed, to extract the lesson, to use the difficulty as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. The masses believe that obstacles are proof they should stop. They believe that difficulty is a sign that success is not meant for them. And so at the first sign of resistance, they retreat. They abandon their dreams, convincing themselves that the path was too difficult, that they were never meant to achieve great things. The wealthy, on the other hand, understand that resistance is natural, that every great success story is filled with moments where quitting seemed like the logical choice. But they also understand something even more important. Success is reserved for those who persist, for those who, instead of surrendering to obstacles, use them as fuel to push forward. And so I ask you, how do you see the challenges in your life? Do you see them as barriers, as reasons to stop? Or do you see them as tests, as lessons, as necessary steps in your evolution? Because your answer to this question will determine everything. If you allow obstacles to define you, if you see them as proof that success is out of reach, you will remain bound by them. But if you choose to see them as opportunities, if you decide that every challenge is merely a stepping stone to something greater, then you will find that nothing in this world can truly stand in your way. It is not about avoiding difficulty. It is about reinterpreting it. It is about mastering the ability to see beyond the problem, to fix your gaze on the solution, to move with unwavering confidence toward the outcome you desire. And once you make this shift, once you train your mind to focus on possibilities rather than limitations, you will find that the world responds in kind. The obstacles that once seem immovable will begin to dissolve. The pathways that once seemed hidden will reveal themselves. And the success that once seemed distant will move toward you with certainty, as if it had been waiting for you all along. There is a hidden truth that eludes the majority. A truth so simple yet so profound that those who grasp it hold in their hands the key to an inexhaustible well of wealth. It is not found in external assets, nor is it stored in banks or locked away in vaults. The greatest treasure of the wealthy is not gold, not stocks, not property. It is something far greater, something that can never be stolen or lost. It is the mind. It is themselves. The world has deceived many into believing that riches are found in what they accumulate, that wealth is a matter of possessions, of numbers on a screen, of physical things that can be weighed and measured. And so the masses pursue these things desperately, believing that if they can only acquire enough, they will finally be secure. But the truth is, wealth is never about what you have. It is about who you are. Look at the truly wealthy, those who have built fortunes that endure. They did not start with vast resources. They did not inherit their empires, nor did they stumble upon luck. What they possessed, what they cultivated, was themselves. They understood that the greatest investment, the one that yields returns beyond measure, is not in external things, but in their own minds, their own skills, their own understanding. A man can lose his fortune. He can be stripped of every possession, cast out into nothingness. And yet, if he truly understands wealth, he will build it all back again, because money was never the source of his riches. He was the source. His mind, his knowledge, his way of thinking, these were his true assets, and as long as he possesses them, wealth will always return to him. But the man who has money without understanding, the man who has wealth but has never learned to create it, he is like a tree without roots, vulnerable to every storm, dependent on forces beyond his control. And when his money vanishes, as it often does for those who do not know its nature, he finds himself lost, incapable of restoring what was never truly his. Have you ever wondered why so many who win great fortunes lose them just as quickly? Why the man who receives an inheritance, who stumbles upon sudden wealth, often finds himself back in poverty within years? It is because he never became wealthy. He merely possessed wealth. And there is a vast difference between the two. To possess something is to hold it temporarily, but to become something is to embody it, to internalize it so deeply that no external force can strip it away. The truly rich do not fear loss, because they know they are the source of their own prosperity. And so the first and greatest investment is not in stocks, nor in property, nor in any external venture. It is in yourself. It is in knowledge, in understanding, in the mastery of the mind. Because once you cultivate this, once you become the kind of person who naturally attracts and sustains wealth, no setback, no loss, no external force can take it from you. Consider the habits of the rich. They are not satisfied with what they know today. They are always learning, always expanding, always refining their skills and deepening their wisdom. They understand that stagnation is death, that to stop growing is to invite decline. They do not waste time on distractions, on fleeting pleasures that offer nothing in return. Instead, they invest in that which will serve them for a lifetime. And now ask yourself, where have you placed your investment? Have you poured your time, your energy, your resources into things that can be taken from you? Or have you invested in yourself, in the one thing that no one can ever steal? Because until you understand this, until you prioritize your own growth above all else, wealth will remain fleeting, always just beyond your grasp. The masses chase money believing that it is the goal. But the wealthy do not chase money, they chase knowledge, understanding, the refinement of their own abilities. And because of this, money chases them. The world rewards those who have prepared themselves for wealth, those who have cultivated within themselves the skills and mindset necessary to receive it. This is why the poor remain poor even when given great sums of money. while the rich continue to grow wealthier even after setbacks. It is not about external circumstances. It is about who you have become. And if you have not become someone who is capable of sustaining wealth, no amount of money will keep you rich. Now, look closely at yourself. Are you waiting for wealth to arrive before you prepare yourself for it? Are you expecting riches to come first, believing that once you have money, you will then become the person capable of handling it? Or do you understand the deeper truth that wealth is not something that arrives first? Because if you wish to be rich, you must not seek money, you must seek growth. You must seek wisdom, skill, the ability to think and act as the wealthy do. And once you do this, once you make yourself the kind of person who attracts wealth rather than chases it, you will find that the money, the opportunities, the resources will come, not because you pursued them, but because they are drawn to the person you have become. And so the question is not what you must do to become rich. The question is, who must you become? Because the answer to that will determine everything. There exists a fundamental divide between those who live in abundance and those who are trapped in lack. It is not a matter of chance, nor is it determined by birthright. It is a simple yet powerful distinction in belief, a difference so profound that it shapes destinies, carving out two separate realities. One of endless possibility. They believe in competition, in finite resources, in the need to fight for every gain. But those who rise above understand a greater truth. Abundance is not something to be taken, it is something to be created. The world of the wealthy is not dictated by lack. They do not see money as a finite resource, nor do they believe that success for one means failure for another. They know that wealth is limitless, that it expands with the mind that dares to claim it. And because of this, they do not waste energy on envy, nor do they fear the success of others. They do not believe in shortage because they have trained themselves to see what so many refuse to acknowledge, that opportunity is everywhere, that prosperity is not something to be hoarded, but something that multiplies when understood. The impoverished mind, on the other hand, is shackled to fear. It believes that wealth is something others possess, and that in order to gain something must be taken. It looks at those who succeed with resentment, as if their rise has caused another's fall. But this thinking is a self-imposed prison. It traps the mind in the illusion of limitation, ensuring that those who believe in lack will always experience lack. Because the mind, being the master of reality, will never allow itself to receive what it does not believe exists in abundance. Look around. There is no true shortage of wealth, no limit to what can be created. Money is printed every day, businesses are formed, fortunes are built from nothing. What separates those who partake in this abundance from those who struggle endlessly is not circumstance, nor education, nor external conditions. It is belief. It is a way of seeing the world not as a battleground for survival, but as an endless field of possibility. Consider the man who believes in scarcity. He fears competition, avoiding risk, because he assumes the world is already against him. When an opportunity presents itself, he hesitates, doubting his ability to claim it. He watches others succeed and convinces himself that he has been left behind. And so his very belief in lack ensures that he remains in it. He does not see wealth as something he can create. He sees it as something controlled by others, always just beyond his grasp. Now look at the man who understands abundance. He does not shrink before competition because he does not see competition as a threat. He does not hesitate when an opportunity arises because he knows that wealth is not taken, it is generated. He moves with confidence, not because he has guarantees, but because he knows that the world will always respond to his belief. And so money moves toward him. Ideas flourish in his hands. Opportunities seem to find him. It is not luck. It is not coincidence. It is the law of the mind in motion. You have been conditioned to believe that only a select few can be rich, that there is not enough for everyone, that prosperity is reserved for others. But these beliefs are not reality, they are chains. And as long as you hold them, you will remain bound. The truth is, wealth is not limited to those who were born into it. It does not belong only to those who have already acquired it. It is available to all who see it, who recognize that money, success, and opportunity are as boundless as the sky. The shift must happen within. You must begin to see yourself not as someone fighting for scraps, not as someone who must struggle to take from another, but as a creator of value, as a magnet for opportunity, as someone who does not need to chase wealth because wealth is drawn to you. The rich do not ask, is there enough for me? They ask, how can I create more? They do not dwell on what they lack, they focus on what they can build. They do not shrink in the presence of others' success, they recognize that every success is proof that more is possible. And now I ask you, what do you see when you look at the world? Do you see limitation or do you see possibility? Do you believe that success is a competition, that wealth must be fought for and taken from others? Or do you see that the only limit is the one you have accepted as real? Because until you free yourself from the illusion of scarcity, until you recognize that wealth is something you create rather than something you fight for, you will always find yourself on the outside looking in. There is no shortage. There is no lack. There is only the mind that either sees abundance or rejects it. And once you change the way you see the world, once you embrace the truth that there is always enough for those who align themselves with it, you will find that wealth moves toward you not because you chase it, not because you fight for it, but because you have finally become someone who understands that prosperity is not something to be earned. It is something to be allowed. There is a hidden force that governs wealth, yet few recognize its power. It is not talent, nor is it education. It is not the family one is born into, nor is it the circumstances that surround them. It is something far more subtle, something woven into the very fabric of thought itself. It is the ability to remain steady, to control emotions, to master the mind when faced with the ever-changing tides of money. Those who are rich are not simply those who acquire wealth, but those who know how to hold it, to sustain it, to multiply it, because they have mastered the art of emotional control. Money, by its nature, moves. It flows in and out of hands, shifting from one place to another. It never stays still, nor does it follow those who act out of fear, desperation, or impulse. The wealthy understand this. They do not react emotionally to money's presence or absence. They do not panic when it seems to leave, nor do they feel intoxicated by its arrival. They remain steady, unmoved, understanding that money is not about luck or chance, it is about vibration. It moves toward those who remain in harmony with it, and away from those who let fear dictate their relationship with it. The poor, on the other hand, see money through the lens of emotion. When they have it, they feel powerful. When they lack it, they feel powerless. Their moods, their actions, their entire sense of self-worth rises and falls with the amount in their possession. And so they make decisions not from wisdom, but from emotion. When money comes, they feel the rush of abundance and spend recklessly, believing the flow will never end. And when money leaves, they shrink in fear, making desperate choices, clinging to what little they have left, reinforcing the cycle of scarcity that has trapped them. Look closely at the difference between these two minds. One sees money as a tool, something that moves according to the laws of thought, something that can be directed with confidence. The other sees money as a fleeting source of happiness, something unstable, something that controls them rather than something they control. And because of this, their financial experiences reflect their beliefs. The wealthy remain calm, stable, assured, and so their wealth remains. The poor react, panic, chase, and cling, and so their money escapes them, slipping through their fingers no matter how hard they try to hold on. Have you ever seen a man who, in moments of financial trouble, acts out of desperation? He rushes into quick decisions, hoping for immediate relief. He takes whatever opportunity appears first, without thought, without patience, because fear has gripped him so tightly that he believes any action is better than stillness. But what does this accomplish? His fear attracts more instability. His desperate energy repels wealth rather than invites it. He moves from one problem to another, never realizing that the very way he thinks about money is ensuring that it remains just out of reach. Contrast this with the man who remains steady. He does not panic when money appears to be low. He does not allow fear to dictate his actions. He understands that wealth is a current, and as long as his inner world remains stable, the outer world will adjust accordingly. He makes decisions from a place of power, not from a place of fear. And because of this, his wealth remains, grows, multiplies, not because he is lucky, not because he was born into privilege, but because he has learned to master himself. You must ask yourself, how do you react to money? When an unexpected expense arises, do you feel tension, fear, anxiety? Do you allow your emotions to spiral, believing that every setback is a sign that things are slipping away? Or do you remain firm, knowing that wealth is not determined by any one event, but by the state of mind you hold consistently? Because the answer to this question will determine your financial reality. The world teaches you to worship money, to fear it, to let it dictate your emotions. But those who understand its true nature see it differently. They see it as neutral, neither good nor bad, neither friend nor enemy. It simply follows the laws of the mind. It moves toward those who treat it with respect, who understand that wealth is not about chasing, but about being in control. It moves away from those who let emotion dictate their decisions, who make choices from fear rather than wisdom. Think about the gamblers, those who chase quick riches, believing that if they can just get lucky, all their problems will be solved. Look at their energy, desperation, excitement, the roller coaster of emotions rising and crashing with every win and loss. And yet, despite their winnings, most will lose everything in the end. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack control. They never learn to steady themselves, to separate their emotions from their finances, to treat money as a force that requires stability in order to remain. Now look at the investor, the businessman, the wealthy mind. He does not gamble. He does not make decisions from a place of excitement or fear. He moves deliberately, patiently, knowing that wealth rewards the calm, the patient, the disciplined. And because of this, he wins not just once, not just for a moment, but again and again, consistently, until he is surrounded by an abundance that cannot be shaken. If you are to be wealthy, you must learn this lesson. You must break the habit of reacting emotionally to money. You must teach yourself to remain steady, to think before you act, to make decisions not from desperation but from confidence. Because until you do, until you master the emotions that surround wealth, you will always find yourself in cycles of gain and loss, never truly holding on to what you desire. The moment you take control of your emotions, the moment you become someone who is unmoved by financial ups and downs, something extraordinary will happen. Money will stop running from you. It will stop slipping through your fingers. It will begin to flow toward you, not because you chased it, not because you begged for it, but because you finally became the kind of person who is stable enough to hold it. And when you reach this point, wealth will no longer be something you hope for, something you struggle for. It will simply be a natural extension of who you have become. There is a silent force that determines whether a man remains bound to mediocrity or ascends into greatness. It is not intelligence, nor is it talent. It is not where he was born or who he knows. It is the ability to do what others fear, to step into the unknown, to embrace risk, to walk boldly in the direction of his vision without hesitation. Those who are wealthy are not merely those who work hard. Hard work alone is not enough. They are the ones who understand that fortune does not favor the idle, nor does it reward those who cling to comfort. It is reserved for the ones who dare, who move forward when others hold back, who see possibility where others see danger. Most people live their entire lives within the boundaries of their fears. They do not make decisions based on what they desire, but on what feels safe. They calculate every move, not based on its potential for success, but based on its potential for failure. And so their lives become small, predictable, repetitive. They avoid risk, thinking it will keep them secure, yet in doing so they rob themselves of the very opportunities that could have set them free. They do not see that the refusal to risk is the greatest risk of all, because in their attempt to avoid loss, they ensure that they never win. The rich do not think this way. They do not avoid risk, they master it. They understand that every great reward is hidden behind uncertainty, that the most valuable opportunities will always come wrapped in doubt, in challenge, in the appearance of danger. They are not reckless, nor do they gamble blindly, but they know that to create wealth, to truly expand, one must step beyond what is comfortable. One must be willing to make moves that others fear. One must trust in the unseen, in the idea that security is not found in stagnation, but in movement, in progress, in the willingness to go where others refuse to go. Look at those who have built fortunes. They were not given guarantees. They did not wait for perfect conditions. They took chances. They made decisions in the face of uncertainty. They stepped forward even when they could not see the entire path ahead. And because of this, wealth came to them not because they were lucky, but because they understood that risk is not something to be feared, but something to be understood. Now, look at those who remain trapped in financial struggle. They do not step forward. They hesitate, they overthink, they wait for the right time. They want assurances, they want to eliminate all possibility of loss before they move. And so, they remain exactly where they are, never realizing that their refusal to act is the very thing keeping them bound. They believe they are playing it safe, yet they are blind to the fact that the safest place is not in comfort, but in growth, in expansion, in the ability to adapt and evolve. You must decide which reality you will live in. Will you be the one who waits, who hesitates, who lets fear dictate your decisions? Or will you be the one who moves, who understands that risk is not the enemy but the price of greatness? Because until you embrace this truth, until you see that every moment of hesitation is a moment where wealth slips further from your grasp, you will remain locked in the illusion of safety, never realizing that security was never about avoiding risk, it was about mastering it. There is something peculiar about those who possess wealth. It is not just their habits, their choices, or their actions. It is something deeper, something unseen. It is the way they see themselves. The rich do not wait for wealth to arrive before they think and act as though they have it. They embody success long before it is reflected in their bank accounts. They do not see money as something they are trying to obtain. They see it as something that already belongs to them. And because of this, reality bends in their favor. The poor, on the other hand, live in a state of waiting. They tell themselves that once they have money, then they will feel confident. Once they are successful, then they will carry themselves with authority. But they have it backward. Reality does not shape identity, identity shapes reality. If you don't see yourself as wealthy now, you will never be wealthy later. If you do not carry yourself with confidence now, you will not have confidence when money arrives. Because wealth is not something you acquire, it is something you become. Look at the difference between these two minds. One waits for the evidence before believing. The other believes first. And because of this belief, the evidence appears. This is not theory. This is not wishful thinking. This is the law that governs all things. The mind is the architect of experience, and the man who sees himself as poor, who speaks as though he is struggling, who acts as though wealth is something distant and unattainable, he ensures that this remains his reality. The one who embodies wealth, who thinks as the rich think, who speaks with certainty, who acts as though success is inevitable, he draws it toward him with an unseen force, bending the very nature of reality to reflect his conviction. Consider the man who always talks about his financial struggles. Every word he speaks reinforces the idea that he is lacking. Every action he takes comes from a place of desperation, from the belief that he is not yet where he needs to be. He does not realize that his very identity, his self-image, is the lock that keeps him bound. He is waiting for something external to change, never realizing that the change must come from within. Now look at the man who understands. He does not beg for wealth. He does not chase it with desperation. He moves with certainty, with assurance, because he knows that the outer world must conform to the inner. He does not say, I hope to be rich. He says, wealth is already mine. He does not wait to carry himself with power. He does so now, knowing that the world will adjust accordingly. And because of this, opportunities flow to him, doors open, money moves in his direction, not because he struggled for it, but because he first became the kind of person who naturally attracts it. This is the greatest secret, the one that so few ever understand. The rich do not act rich because they have money. They have money because they first acted rich. They spoke it, they believed it, they embodied it in their very being before it was ever reflected in their circumstances. And because of this, money came. It had no choice but to obey. Now ask yourself, how do you see yourself? Do you speak as though you are struggling? Do you act as though wealth is something distant, something you are trying to reach? Or do you claim it now? Do you embody success before the world confirms it? Because the answer to this question determines everything. You cannot wait to be rich before you think as the rich think. You must first become it in mind, and then and only then will the outer world follow. Everything you desire, wealth, success, freedom, already exists, waiting for you to claim it. It is not outside of you, not something distant or separate. It is within you, shaped by the thoughts you hold, the beliefs you cultivate, and the way you see yourself. The rich do not wait for evidence before believing in abundance. They believe first and the evidence follows. They do not wait for wealth to arrive before acting with confidence. They move as though success is inevitable, and the world adjusts to match their conviction. You have been conditioned to think that money is something to be earned through endless toil, that success is reserved for a select few, that you must compete, struggle, and prove yourself worthy before you can claim abundance. But these are illusions, mental chains designed to keep you small. The truth is, wealth is not granted, it is created. Not by luck, not by external conditions, but by the one who dares to become it first in mind before it ever materializes in the world. Look at your life, your circumstances, your financial reality. They are nothing more than a reflection of the beliefs you have held up until this moment. If you have struggled, it is not because the world is against you, nor because opportunities were absent. It is because your mind was tuned to struggle, to limitation, to scarcity. But the moment you shift, the moment you refuse to accept lack as your truth, the moment you embody abundance as your natural state, everything begins to change. The rich do not wait. They do not hesitate. They do not ask for permission to succeed. They think boldly, move decisively, invest in themselves, take calculated risks, and carry the unwavering belief that wealth is already theirs. And because of this it is, they do not chase money, they align with it. They do not beg for opportunities, they create them. They do not shrink in the presence of failure, they use it as fuel to rise higher. Now you must ask yourself, what do you truly believe? Do you see yourself as someone who is waiting for success, hoping for wealth, chasing after something that always seems just out of reach? Or do you decide here and now that you are already abundant, that wealth is not something to be earned, but something to be received, something that naturally gravitates toward those who understand its laws? Because your answer to this question will determine everything. You do not need to fight for wealth. You need only to become the person who receives it effortlessly. And once you do, once you fully align your mind, your words, and your actions with the certainty that abundance is yours, you will find that money, success, and opportunities will move toward you as if they had been waiting for you all along. So I leave you with this: do not wait for wealth to change your mindset. Change your mindset, and wealth will follow. Do not wait for proof before believing. Believe first, and proof will appear. The world does not respond to those who wish or beg or hope. It responds to those who know. Decide now that you are one of them, and watch as reality bends to match your conviction.
There is a power within you, a force so absolute that in just 1 minute it can reshape your reality. You are not bound by the circumstances you see, nor are you limited by the conditions the world tells you are permanent. The unseen, the formless, the invisible realm of imagination. This is where all things take shape, before they manifest in your world. Close your eyes for a moment and step beyond what you believe to be true. Feel not as one who wishes, but as one who already has. Let go of logic, let go of time. In just 1 minute, you can claim the impossible. You are not asking, you are not waiting, you are being. Right now, in this very moment, you have stepped into the version of yourself that already possesses everything you desire. Every second of doubt is a second wasted. The mind argues, the senses deceive, but the spirit knows. The law is simple. Assume the feeling and reality conforms. It does not matter how distant the dream appears. 1 minute of absolute conviction is more powerful than years of effort. The world responds to your inner state. For what you occupy within, you will occupy without. Do not look for proof. Do not seek signs. The moment you enter the state of fulfillment, creation is finished. Reality only needs time to catch up to the certainty you have already claimed. Be still and know it is done. Everything that exists in your world was once an idea, a thought, an unseen vision held in someone's mind. The chair you sit on, the home you live in, the clothes you wear, each one was first conceived in the imagination before it took form in reality. This is the law of creation, the foundation of all manifestation. Nothing appears out of nowhere. Everything is born from the unseen into the seen. And the most powerful truth is that your imagination is the source of your own reality. You are constantly shaping your life through the thoughts you hold and the feelings you entertain. Whether you are aware of it or not, your imagination is the force that molds your experiences. When you dwell in lack, fear, or limitation, you bring those experiences into being. When you persist in abundance, love, and fulfillment, your world shifts to reflect that state. The outer world is nothing more than a shadow cast by the inner world. To change the shadow, you must change the light that casts it. Imagination is not fantasy or daydreaming. It is the blueprint of reality. Consider the way an architect envisions a building before a single brick is laid. The structure exists in his mind long before it stands in the physical world. He knows that the blueprint is not separate from the finished building. It is the very thing that calls it into existence. In the same way, your inner world of imagination is not separate from your outer experience. What you claim inwardly, you will inevitably experience outwardly. The key is not merely to imagine passively, but to embody the state of already having what you desire. This means you do not just think about your dream, you feel it, you live in it, you make it real in your consciousness. You step into the scene in your mind, not as an observer, but as the main character. If you seek love, you do not long for it, you feel love now. If you desire success, you do not hope for it, you walk as one who is already successful. If the mind does not know the difference between imagination and reality, it only responds to the state you occupy. You have been given this creative power from birth, and you have used it all your life. Every experience you have ever had was first shaped in your inner world, whether consciously or unconsciously. If you look back at moments of struggle, you may realize that before the external difficulty appeared, there was already an internal fear, doubt, or worry that created it. Likewise, moments of great joy and success were preceded by a feeling of confidence, expectation, and knowing. The world is not happening to you, it is happening through you. Many people spend their lives reacting to circumstances, believing they are powerless against what life presents. But the truth is, life is reacting to you. The world you see is a reflection of your inner assumptions. The person who believes they are always unlucky will continue to experience misfortune. The person who believes they are destined for greatness will find opportunities unfolding before them. The law is impartial. It does not decide what is good or bad for you. It simply brings forth whatever you impress upon it. This is why guarding your imagination is so crucial. What you consistently hold in mind, you will experience. You cannot afford to dwell on fear, lack, or limitation, for those seeds will grow into your reality. Instead, you must deliberately plant the seeds of the life you desire. You must see yourself as the person you wish to be and feel the reality of it now. Some may ask, but what if my current circumstances contradict my imagination? The answer is simple. Circumstances do not matter. They are only a reflection of past thoughts and beliefs. If you persist in a new state, the outer world must shift to match it. The mistake most people make is looking at their current reality and believing it is fixed. But reality is fluid, always changing to mirror the state of consciousness you maintain. To truly grasp the power of imagination, you must stop thinking of it as something separate from reality. It is not just a tool for visualization. It is the very fabric of creation. The moment you assume something to be true in imagination, it begins to take form. It may not be visible immediately, but just as a seed planted in the soil does not sprout overnight, your assumptions take time to unfold in the physical world. The delay is not a denial. It is simply the natural process of manifestation. The question is not whether you are creating through imagination. You are doing so every moment of your life. The real question is whether you are creating deliberately or unconsciously. Most people allow their minds to be filled with fear, worry, and doubt, and then they wonder why their lives reflect those states. But the awakened individual understands that they must take control of their inner world. They must discipline their imagination, feeding it only with what they truly wish to experience. Think of it this way. If you were a gardener, would you allow weeds to overrun your soil, or would you carefully plant only the seeds that produce the harvest you desire? Your mind is no different. You must pull out the weeds of fear, self-doubt, and limitation, and replace them with the seeds of confidence, abundance, and joy. The moment you do, your reality will begin to shift. Some may say, this sounds too simple, but the truth is always simple. It is only the conditioned mind that complicates things. From childhood, we have been taught to believe only in what we can see and touch. We have been trained to place more faith in the physical world than in our own creative power. But the reality is that the physical world is merely an echo of the inner world. When you learn to trust your imagination more than your senses, you unlock the ability to shape your reality at will. This is not about wishful thinking or blind optimism. It is about knowing beyond doubt that what you hold in your mind will materialize. It is about stepping into the feeling of already having what you desire and living from that state until the world catches up. It does not matter how big the dream or how impossible it seems. The law does not recognize limitations. It only recognizes the state you occupy. The greatest figures in history, from inventors to artists to spiritual leaders, have all understood this truth. They did not wait for the world to show them what was possible. They imagined it first. The great inventions of today were once dismissed as impossible fantasies. The breakthroughs that have shaped civilization were first held in the minds of those who dared to believe in the unseen. You have this same power. Right now, in this very moment, you can begin to reshape your reality. You do not need permission from anyone, nor do you need external validation. The only requirement is that you accept the truth. Imagination creates reality. And once you accept this, you can never see the world the same way again. Your imagination is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, the formless and the formed. You are always standing at the doorway of possibility, and with each thought, you choose which world to step into. Do not let fear, doubt, or logic dictate your fate. Instead, take control of your imagination, and with absolute conviction, claim the life that is already yours in the unseen. The moment you do, reality has no choice but to rearrange itself to match your vision. To manifest anything in your life, you must not only think about it, but also assume the feeling of fulfillment. This is the key to turning desire into reality. You cannot simply wish for something and hope it happens. You must step into the state of already having it. The feeling itself is the bridge between imagination and physical reality. When you assume the feeling, you shift your consciousness to a new state of being, and reality must conform to match it. Most people approach their desires from a place of lack. They see what they want, but they feel the absence of it. They hope, they wish, they dream, but deep down they reinforce the belief that it is not yet theirs. This is why so many struggle to manifest their desires. They are more focused on not having than on already possessing. But reality does not respond to wishes. It responds to states of being. Imagine for a moment that you are an actor. You step onto the stage and take on a role. You immerse yourself in the emotions, the thoughts, and the reactions of this character until, for the audience, you become that person. The mind works the same way. When you assume the state of already having what you desire, you are playing the role, not pretending, but fully embodying the reality of it. The mind does not know the difference between what is real and what is vividly imagined. The more deeply you assume the feeling of fulfillment, the more inevitable your manifestation becomes. To truly grasp this concept, you must understand that inner experience precedes outer experience. You do not need to wait for your circumstances to change in order to feel different. You change the feeling first, and the circumstances follow. It is a mistake to believe that once something manifests, then you will feel joy, peace, or security. In truth, it is the other way around. You must feel the joy, peace, and security first, and then the outer world will reflect it. Think of a person who wins the lottery. Before they ever held the winning ticket, they likely fantasized about what it would be like to have great wealth. In those moments, they felt excitement, confidence, and abundance. Their consciousness entered the state of wealth before it physically arrived. The external event of winning was only a reflection of an internal shift that had already taken place. You can apply this same principle to anything you desire: love, success, health, or personal transformation. The key is to live in the end, meaning you mentally and emotionally dwell in the state of already having what you seek. When you live in the end, you no longer wait or hope. You become the person who already possesses it. You walk, talk, and think from the perspective of someone for whom the dream is already a reality. The reason this method is so powerful is that feeling is the secret to manifestation. Thoughts alone are not enough. They must be fused with emotion to become effective. The subconscious mind does not respond to words. It responds to feelings. It does not matter how many times you repeat an affirmation if, deep down, you do not believe it. What matters is whether you can feel the truth of your assumption. For example, if you desire love, you cannot just affirm "I am loved" while feeling lonely. You must shift your entire inner state to one of already being loved. How does it feel to be deeply cherished? How does it feel to be in a harmonious, fulfilling relationship? If you can capture that feeling and live in it, even before the outer proof arrives, your world will begin to shift. The same applies to financial abundance. If you desire wealth but constantly feel poor, you reinforce the state of lack. But if you assume the feeling of already being wealthy, walking with confidence, feeling secure, knowing abundance flows to you effortlessly, then the outer world must rearrange itself to reflect that state. One of the greatest challenges people face is that they allow their current circumstances to dictate what they believe is possible. They look at their empty bank account, their difficult relationships, or their health struggles and assume that these conditions are real and unchangeable. But the truth is that circumstances are just reflections of past states of being. They have no power over what comes next, unless you continue to give them attention and belief. Faith is the ability to believe in something before it is physically seen. It is the ability to hold the feeling of fulfillment even when reason denies it. If you base your belief on what your eyes see, you will always be a prisoner of circumstances. But if you base your belief on what you feel to be true in imagination, then you step into the role of the creator of your reality. Think of someone who has achieved great success. At some point, before they saw external results, they had to believe in their vision. They had to feel the excitement, the confidence, and the certainty of success, even when nothing in their environment supported it. That inner assumption became the force that shaped their reality. Many people try to assume the feeling of their wish fulfilled, but when they do not see immediate results, they give up. They look around, see no change, and assume that the process is not working. But manifestation is like planting a seed. When you place a seed in the soil, you do not expect it to sprout instantly. You trust the process. You water it, nurture it, and persist in knowing that beneath the surface, growth is happening. The same is true with manifestation. You must persist in the feeling of fulfillment regardless of what your senses tell you. You do not check every day to see if your wishes come true. You simply live as if it already has. You remain faithful to your assumption, knowing that reality must conform in time. This is why discipline is essential. You must train your mind to return again and again to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. If doubts arise, dismiss them. If fear creeps in, replace it with certainty. If the world tells you it is impossible, remind yourself that the world only reflects past states, and you are now living in a new state. The beauty of this practice is that you do not need to wait for anything outside of you to change. You can shift your inner state in an instant. Right now, you can close your eyes, take a deep breath, and assume the feeling of already having what you desire. You can feel the relief, the joy, the gratitude, and the confidence of knowing it is already done. And when you do, you have already begun the process of bringing it into reality. It only takes one moment of absolute conviction to change everything. When you enter a new state of being, reality has no choice but to reflect it. The only question is whether you will persist in that state or allow doubt to pull you back into the old one. You are always assuming something. Every moment, you are living in a state, whether it is abundance or lack, love or loneliness, success or failure. The key is to become conscious of the states you occupy and to choose deliberately. No one else is creating your reality. You are. And you do so through the feeling of fulfillment that you embody right now. The present moment is the point of creation. Most people believe that change takes time, that the journey from where they are to where they want to be is long and difficult. But this belief itself is a limitation, an illusion created by the mind. The truth is that transformation happens in an instant. The instant you shift your awareness, the instant you accept a new reality. You do not have to wait for the future to bring you what you desire. The only moment that exists is now, and now is where creation happens. The mind is conditioned to think in terms of past, present, and future, but consciousness operates outside of time. When you desire something, it does not exist in some far-off future. It is already real within the realm of imagination. Your job is not to chase it, but to bring your awareness into alignment with it. This is why the present moment is so powerful. It is the place where you decide what is real for you. Right now, as you read these words, your mind is processing thoughts, emotions, and perceptions. But the question is, what are you assuming to be true in this moment? Are you dwelling in the state of lack, hoping that one day things will change? Or are you stepping into the reality of already having what you seek? Your consciousness is like a radio transmitter. It is always broadcasting a signal. That signal is your dominant feeling, your assumption about life. The world then reflects that signal back to you in the form of circumstances and experiences. If you want to change what appears in your life, you must change what you are broadcasting in this moment. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Now. Time is an illusion of the physical world, a construct that helps the mind organize events. But manifestation does not happen in time. It happens in states of consciousness. When you assume a state, you do not need to wait for some external process to unfold. You have already shifted into a new reality. Think of a dream. When you are dreaming, You do not question how long it takes for something to appear. If you imagine a door, it appears. If you expect to see a person, they are there. The same principle applies to waking reality. The only difference is that waking reality appears to have a delay. This delay exists because of the density of the physical world, but the fundamental process is the same. If you insist on believing that change takes time, then that belief itself becomes your reality. But if you recognize that time is just an illusion, you step into the understanding that what you seek is already here, now. You are not moving toward your desire is already present within you. You only need to align with it. How do you step into the present moment fully? By immersing yourself in the feeling of already being the person you wish to be. This is not about forcing or pretending. It is about shifting your attention completely. Take a moment to close your eyes. Think of something you deeply desire, not as a distant goal, not as something you are hoping to achieve one day, but as something that is already yours. How does it feel to have it now? How do you walk, speak, and think as the version of yourself who already possesses this reality? When you drop all resistance, when you let go of the idea that you are on your way to something, and instead claim that you already are the person who has it, you collapse the illusion of time. You step into the only moment that matters, the present moment. And in that moment, your reality begins to shift. Most people think change is a long, gradual process, but true transformation happens the moment you decide, the moment you say, "This is my reality now," and refuse to entertain any thought to the contrary. The entire universe responds. Think of someone who breaks a lifelong habit in an instant. Perhaps they smoked for years, and then one day something shifts within them. They no longer identify as a smoker. They do not try to quit. They simply step into a new state of being where smoking is no longer part of their reality. No struggle, no effort, just a single decision. The same principle applies to anything you wish to manifest. The instant you decide, truly decide, that something is already yours, you step into that new state. Reality then begins to rearrange itself to reflect your new assumption. To live from the end means to think and feel as the version of yourself who already has what you desire. You must bring this feeling into the present moment, not as something you are trying to achieve, but as something you already are. If you desire wealth, do not wait for money to show up before feeling abundant. Feel wealthy now. If you desire love, do not wait for a relationship to make you feel loved. Feel deeply cherished now. This is not a trick, it is the fundamental law of consciousness. Whatever you embody in the present moment becomes your reality. If you live in lack, you attract lack. If you live in fulfillment, you attract fulfillment. Your external world is simply a mirror of your dominant inner state. If you want to know what you truly believe, look at what is manifesting in your life. Not as a form of judgment, but as a tool of awareness. The outer world is showing you what you have been assuming internally. Change your inner state now, and the outer world must follow. The only thing standing between you and the life you desire is awareness. You must become aware of what you are assuming in each moment. Most people drift through life unconsciously, reacting to circumstances rather than shaping them. But the moment you become aware of your state of being, you gain the power to shift it. Every time you catch yourself falling into old assumptions, stop. Ask yourself, what am I assuming to be true in this moment? Is it aligned with the reality I desire? If not, shift immediately. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This does not require effort, it requires a decision. You do not have to force yourself into a new state. You simply allow yourself to be there. You release the old story, the old doubts, and step into the present moment fully. You are not at the mercy of circumstances. You are the creator of them. When you embody a new state in the present moment, the world has no choice but to conform. The people, events, and opportunities that match your new state begin to appear. It may seem like magic, but it is simply the natural law of consciousness in action. Remember, manifestation does not take time. It takes alignment. The moment you shift your awareness, reality begins to shift with you. You do not need to wait. The future is not something you move toward. It is something you create now. The same applies to love, success, health, anything you desire. You must make a firm decision before the outer world confirms it. The decision itself is what bends reality. If you look at quantum physics, you will see a fascinating principle: the observer effect. Scientists have found that when they observe a particle, their observation affects the outcome. Reality does not exist in a fixed state. It is shaped by consciousness. Your mind is the observer. The moment you decide on a reality and refuse to entertain anything contrary to it, you lock that reality into place. It is no longer a possibility, it is a certainty. This is why people who make clear, definite decisions experience rapid change. They are no longer fluctuating between different states, sending mixed signals to the universe. They are broadcasting one clear, unwavering frequency. One of the most powerful effects of a strong decision is that it eliminates doubt. When you have not fully decided on something, your mind wavers. You go back and forth between belief and disbelief, creating resistance. The same principle applies to relationships, career success, financial abundance, or any area of life. The moment you fully commit, the shift happens. The universe responds immediately because your consciousness has changed. If you want to create a radical shift in your life, you must learn how to make decisions with absolute conviction. Here is how. Get clear on what you want. Before you can decide on something, you must know exactly what you desire. Most people are vague, saying things like, "I want to be happier," or "I want more money." Instead, be specific. "I am now living a life of financial freedom, earning $10,000 a month. I am now in a loving, healthy relationship." Clarity strengthens decision. Drop all other options. A true decision means there is no other choice. The moment you leave room for maybe, you weaken the power of your decision. Decide that this is your reality now, and do not entertain any alternatives. Feel it as real now. Do not wait for the external world to show you results. Assume the feeling now. If you desire wealth, feel wealthy now. If you desire love, feel deeply loved now. The external world will adjust to match your inner state. Act in alignment immediately. Your actions should reflect your new decision. If you have decided to be successful, start acting like someone who is successful now. Dress the part, think the part, move with confidence. Every action you take should reinforce your new reality. Refuse to entertain doubt. The moment you catch yourself thinking, "But what if it doesn't happen?" stop immediately. Shift back into certainty. Remind yourself, "This is my reality now." Protect your decision fiercely. The instant shift that comes with decision. Many people spend years struggling, searching for answers, waiting for a breakthrough. But the truth is, the breakthrough is already available. It is just waiting for you to decide. You do not need to fix all the details, figure out every step, or struggle your way forward. You simply need to make a firm decision right now that your desired reality is already yours. From that moment, everything begins to change. The people, opportunities, and circumstances that match your new state start to appear. The universe moves in response to your consciousness. So, take a moment now, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and declare within yourself, "This is my reality now. I have already received what I desire. I am living it now." There is a moment when everything changes. And that moment is when you completely embody the feeling of your wish fulfilled. It is not about hoping, wishing, or waiting for something to happen in the future. It is about claiming it as already done. The mind does not distinguish between what is imagined with full belief and what is experienced in the external world. When you feel as though you already have something, reality must shift to reflect that feeling. The external world is a mirror of your inner state, and the moment you persist in the assumption that your desire is already yours, the outer world conforms. Most people believe they must wait for evidence before they feel something is true. They wait for money to appear before they feel abundant. They wait for love before they feel loved. They wait for success before they feel successful. But this is not how reality operates. It does not bring you what you want, it brings you what you are. And what you are is determined by what you feel to be true. Feeling is the secret. It is not enough to say words or repeat affirmations without conviction. The power is in the feeling that arises when you immerse yourself in the assumption that your desire is already real. This is why a moment of deep emotion can shift reality faster than years of effort. If you can completely accept in a single moment that your desire is already fulfilled and feel it as real, then the change happens instantly. The bridge of incidents that follows is merely the unfolding of what has already been accepted in consciousness. Think of a time when something happened in your life unexpectedly. Perhaps it was a sudden change, an opportunity that came out of nowhere, or a shift in circumstances you never saw coming. If you reflect deeply, you will realize that at some point before it happened, you had already assumed it as true, even if just for a moment. Maybe you had a deep knowing, an unshakable feeling that it was done. That feeling, even if brief, set the entire chain of events into motion. This is why those who achieve great success, wealth, and love often speak of a moment where they just knew. Before anything changed externally, they had already lived it internally. They had already walked in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The mistake most people make is that they think they need to see evidence first, but the evidence follows the feeling, not the other way around. The way to bring anything into your life is to first bring it into your consciousness. Live in the end result, feel it as though it is happening now. If you desire wealth, do not dwell in thoughts of lack. Instead, carry yourself with the confidence of someone who is already wealthy. If you desire love, do not wait for someone else to give it to you. Feel deeply loved now, knowing that love is already yours. The outer world must then reflect this state. This is not about pretending or forcing belief. It is about fully immersing yourself in the experience of having what you desire. When you close your eyes and imagine, do it so vividly that your entire body responds. Let your heart race with excitement. Let your breathing change as if you are experiencing it now. The subconscious mind does not differentiate between an experience that happens in the physical world and one that is deeply felt in imagination. When you remain in this state, even if nothing seems to change immediately, you have planted the seed. The law does not fail. The universe must conform. The time it takes to manifest depends only on how persistently you remain in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. If you waver between belief and doubt, you delay the process. But if you remain steady in your assumption, if you refuse to entertain thoughts of lack or impossibility, then what you have felt internally must harden into fact. Look at the lives of those who have effortlessly attracted what they desire. You will find one common trait. They do not question whether it will happen. They know it is already done. They do not place their attention on obstacles or limitations. Instead, they live in the assumption that what they desire is inevitable. And because they persist in that state, reality bends to match it. Every great achievement begins in the unseen world of imagination. Everything you see around you was once a thought, a vision in someone's mind. The greatest inventions, the tallest buildings, the most beautiful works of art, all of them existed first in consciousness before they appeared in the physical world. Your desires are no different. They are already real in the unseen. The only thing that determines whether they appear in your world is how consistently you remain in the state of the wish fulfilled. It is not about time, it is about certainty. The moment you fully accept something as true in consciousness, time ceases to be a factor. The universe will rearrange itself in ways you could never predict to bring your desire into form. You do not need to know how, you only need to know that it is done. Doubt is the only thing that keeps manifestations from appearing instantly. The moment you decide something is already yours and refuse to entertain any other possibility, reality conforms with astonishing speed. The reason most people do not see instant results is that they waver. They believe for a moment. Then they look at the external world for confirmation. When they do not see evidence, they fall back into doubt, undoing their assumption. But those who persist, who hold on to their belief without needing proof, are the ones who experience rapid manifestations. Feeling is not just about emotion, it is about conviction. It is about knowing beyond all doubt that what you have imagined is real. It is about walking through life as if the world has already rearranged itself to match your desire, even before the evidence appears. And when you do this, the evidence follows effortlessly. There is nothing outside of you that can stop what you have fully accepted as true within. No obstacle, no circumstance, no opposing force has the power to override a deeply felt assumption. The only limits are the ones you accept. When you remove doubt, when you embrace the feeling of the wish fulfilled as your dominant state, the impossible becomes inevitable. The present moment holds all the power you will ever need. It is the only place where creation happens. The past does not exist except in memory, and the future is only a projection of the mind. But right now, in this moment, you have the ability to claim any reality you desire. The reason most people fail to manifest what they want is that they spend their time either looking backward at what has been or looking forward in anticipation, hoping that something will change. But change does not happen in the past or future, it happens now. The moment you accept a new reality as true, without contradiction, the world begins to shift to match it. When you focus your attention entirely on the present and fully occupy the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you step into a new state of being. This is not about waiting for something to happen, but about knowing that it already has. The external world may not yet reflect it, but reality is shaped from within. The mistake most people make is that they look outside for validation. They wait for a sign, a shift, some proof that their new reality is forming. But all of that is secondary. The only proof you need is the feeling of certainty within you. Creation is finished. Every possibility already exists. The version of you that has what you desire is already real. The only thing that determines which version of reality you experience is your state of being. If you persist in feeling lack, doubt, or fear, then you align yourself with a version of reality that reflects those states. But if you embody the feeling of already having what you desire, then that is the reality you will experience. This is why a single moment of unwavering belief is more powerful than years of effort. There is nothing outside of you that dictates what you can or cannot have. You are not bound by circumstances, time, or limitations. The only thing that determines what manifests in your life is the assumption you hold in the present moment. Right now, you can choose to believe in lack, struggle, and waiting, or you can choose to believe in abundance, ease, and fulfillment. The choice is always yours. Most people do not realize that they are choosing, moment by moment, through the state they occupy. The way to shift reality is not through force or struggle, but through deep, unwavering acceptance. You do not need to fight against your current reality. You do not need to try to change what already exists. Instead, you simply shift your awareness to the reality you prefer and remain there. When you fully occupy a new state, everything else must shift to accommodate it. This is not wishful thinking, it is the fundamental nature of reality. Many people believe they must work hard, take endless action, and struggle to achieve their desires. But action taken from a state of doubt only reinforces the doubt. True manifestation happens when action is inspired from the feeling of already having what you want. When you act from a state of certainty, your actions flow effortlessly, and the results appear as if by magic. But action taken from a place of lack only leads to more lack. This is why so many people chase their desires for years without ever feeling fulfilled. They are operating from the assumption that they do not have what they want. And so reality continues to reflect that assumption. The key is to embody the new reality so fully that you forget the old one ever existed. If you can sit quietly, close your eyes, and feel with absolute certainty that you are already the person who has what you desire, then everything else takes care of itself. The details of how it happens are not your concern. The universe arranges all the necessary steps in ways that your logical mind could never predict. Doubt is the only thing that delays manifestation. The moment you say, "But I don't see it yet," you reinforce the old state. The moment you look for signs and wonder if it's working, you are acknowledging that it is not yet real to you. But when you remain firm in your assumption, when you refuse to entertain any reality other than the one you have chosen, then the world bends to match your inner state. Most people believe reality is fixed, that they must react to what already exists. But in truth, what exists now is only the result of past assumptions. If you continue to focus on what is, you will only create more of the same. But if you ignore the current reality and persist in the new assumption, the external world must eventually conform. This is not about denying what is in front of you, but about giving your full attention to what you prefer. The greatest shift happens in a single moment of realization. When you truly understand that you are the creator, that reality is fluid and responsive to your state of being, then you stop reacting and start consciously choosing. And when you choose with full conviction, without needing proof or validation, reality rearranges itself instantly. The only delay is the time it takes for you to fully accept the new reality as truth. Time itself is an illusion. What appears as waiting is only a reflection of your inner doubts. The moment you completely let go of the need to see proof, the proof appears. The reason manifestations seem to take time is that most people shift between belief and doubt, constantly undoing their own assumptions. But the moment you claim something as already yours, the outer world may take time to catch up, but the shift has already happened. The present moment is the point of power. Every moment you spend doubting, waiting, or wondering is a moment spent delaying your desire. But the moment you accept with full conviction that it is already done, everything changes. You do not need to struggle. You do not need to figure out how. It is all taken care of the moment you step into the new state. And when you remain there, the impossible becomes inevitable. The greatest truth that most people overlook is that the world outside is nothing more than a reflection of what is held within. Everything that appears in your life, every event, every person, every circumstance is merely a projection of your inner state. The reason this is not always obvious is that most people live in reaction to the world rather than consciously directing it. They look at their external reality and assume it is something separate from them, something they must respond to or struggle against. But the truth is that the world is a mirror, reflecting back the assumptions, beliefs, and feelings that are most deeply held. Most people attempt to change their lives by working on the external world. They seek to control circumstances, manipulate situations, and force things to happen. But this approach is backward. The external world is only an effect. The cause is always within. The more effort one exerts trying to change things on the outside, the more resistance is encountered. True change does not come from struggling with what already exists. It comes from shifting the state of consciousness that produced it. Imagine standing before a mirror and seeing an expression on your face that you dislike. If you attempt to change the reflection directly, if you reach out and try to alter what is in the mirror, you will find it impossible. The only way to change the reflection is to change yourself first. The mirror does not create, it only reflects. In the same way, reality does not create, it only reflects what is assumed to be true.